Hello lovely people, it's Candy here. Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do a video about dreaming and harnessing the power of your dreams and working with your dreams, and just delving into that dream territory, which is new for me. I'm not an expert, but what I did want to share is what I found out just in the first few months of trying to step into the dreamscape of my world. So 2021, I am trying to look after myself more. I am trying to unhook claws from the past. I am trying to freeze repeating circles. I am trying to move forwards. And sometimes it seems like an impossible task. And I've got to the point in some areas of my life where I struggle to understand why is it so difficult to move forward, to change things, to feel momentum, to get traction in areas that I want traction in. There's obviously something going on underneath the surface. If you want to change, you know how to change, you know you want it, and yet still you can't. There's obviously something going on subconsciously that you don't realize. We're talking shadow work here. We're talking getting to grips with things behind the veil. Dream work. It's a perfect playground, circus tent, cage fight arena for discovering these sort of issues that are going on in the mists of your subconscious. So I decided to grab dream work, and for the first time ever, to try and harness my dreams, to look at them and to explore them, to analyze them, and to try and find some hidden shadowy corners that I could shine a torch on. So I grabbed a shiny notebook and put it next to my bed, full of excitement to see what the morning notes would bring me. And I woke up and there was nothing there. And the next day, and the next day, and the next day. And I had to sit back and ask myself, just when did I stop remembering dreams? This was the end of last year, and I couldn't quite believe it. And then I watched a lovely video over at Saturnarium, which I'll link below, where she used tarot to both trigger a dream or to prompt the remembering of the dream immediately on waking. And next to her bed, she would lay out 3 tarot cards, almost to like prompt a lucid dream that she could fall into. And then when she woke up, she would immediately look at these cards and remember the dream. Fantastic idea. So I grabbed a deck that I knew I wanted to start exploring this year. It's one of my plans to do a deep dive on this deck this year. It's got dream in the title. It was perfect. The Dreams of Gaia Tarot, that got put next to my bed. And then with great anticipation, with my empty notebook primed, I pulled 3 cards, and again nothing, and again nothing, and again nothing. And these cards kind of sat next to my bed, kind of mocking me in my lack of remembrance of what I dreamt, until one night I pulled this card, which has a turtle in it. Had a dream about a turtle that became the outer casing of a train hurtling through this garden where I was at, and the garden became a huge party, and all of the people at the party were demanding that I entertain them or serve them or get things for them, and then being berated and laughed at the party when I failed. And in the background, this turtle encased train kept hurtling through. And one of the reasons I couldn't perform was I was trying to get this object off this train every time it came to the station, only to be trapped in the doors every time. So it was a real anxiety filled dream. And in the end, I realised it was my son's trombone case. The case was also the turtle shell that I was trying to grab off the train. It was about trying to protect the objects inside the case, protect my children, protect myself from the doors. There were shells within shells within shells, and all the time being laughed at and dragged away from any chance to get this repeating trombone case off the train from this mocking crowd behind me. Protection. It opened up a huge doorway for me, and it worked once. In a whole month of doing this nightly, it only worked once. So the problem wasn't not dreaming. The problem for me was remembering the dreams. After this worked, every morning I was seconds away from the dream before it slipped away, and I realised it had to be something more immediate so I didn't lose the dream. This card got pulled so many times, and I was so close on so many times to getting the dream and kept losing it. It doesn't help. I am often woken up very early by children charging into my room, standing over me to tell me how many hours their birthday is away, or to ask me what's for breakfast at 5 in the morning, or by dogs being let out of their crates and charging into my room, being woken up by a dog paw landing in my throat. On one occasion, I was woken up at 4 o'clock by Tilly standing over me, asking me very loudly, "How far is it to Guatemala, Mommy?" because she was obsessed with world flags. So that makes it quite difficult to retain a dream. For me, dream retaining is about immediately being able to capture it undisturbed. I managed it once. I could feel I'd pulled it closer, but it was still out of reach. I think dreaming is like a muscle. The more you try, the easier it gets. I now have got to a point, about 2.5 months into this, where I am retaining dreams. I'm not pulling tarot cards at the minute. I changed my system. Instead of a pen and a paper to pick up, where you have to sit up, you have to put the light on to see to write, you have to get the book and open it, you have to start writing. Within that space of time and those many steps to actually get to the recording, it was enough time for me to lose my dream. So I thought, what else can I do? My phone is always next to my bed charging. I thought, let's just grab my phone the second I wake up in the dark. I don't have to sit up, I don't have to put the light on, I just have to reach over and press record. So that's what I've been doing. It has led to some rather funny, still really asleep videos on my phone telling the dream. And it's funny, if you get it straight away, once you start telling, the rest of the dream I found came out. Videos like this one. It was in a band, like a joke band. I can remember sitting in the audience with people rolling their eyes. Yeah, I know. So once I'd got it captured, that's really worked for me. So if you are wanting to do dream work, but you just can't remember the dream, there are two ways there to go about it. There's a prompt and a trigger next to the bed to try and prompt a dream and then re-trigger it when you wake up. That might work for you. Use your phone next to your bed, something immediate to record it on. Once I'd recorded the dreams, I managed to then start writing them out, which has led to some quite interesting revelations in here. In my exploration of dreaming, I found something really interesting. In the period of time where I was really struggling to retain any what I am now deeming normal dream, I had two dreams that felt very, very different. Before that, my dad, who I lost 13 years ago now, he passed away 13 years ago. My dad has very, very often come to me in dreams with some quite unbelievably accurate information, warnings that all panned out to be completely true, very specific. And for me, those dreams are crystal clear. I'm going to pick up my piece of rose quartz as I'm talking, because in one meditation my dad walked down the beach to me and gave me a huge piece of rose quartz. Yeah, so I had one dream in the middle of all of this. There was no difficulty in remembering the fine details from start to finish. There was a lovely, positive, loving energy that I could literally feel him through. His words were very clear and it felt so different. So in amongst all of this misty, there's a story there but I can't quite remember it, that felt like the dream world, in came this startlingly clear dream, and I just know it was something different. The energy of the whole thing was completely different. So I heard it called a visitation dream, or just a visitation. That was different, and for me, doing this exploration has made me really see clearly that they're very different things. The dream world isn't the same across the board. So I've already got two very clear categories going on: my normal dream work where the subconscious goes to work, or a visitation dream, which is something totally different. And then I had another dream which again presented me with another category. It wasn't my dad in this. This was it was an online person that I've had issues in the past. I did a video about online bullying, and it was this person in the dream. It was a dream where I was propelled into somebody else's dream, I think. I don't know what you would define it as, but I just know it felt very different. It was a standoff basically, and a intimidation technique in another plane, another dimension. That's the only way I can describe it. That other person now knows not to underestimate me. You're welcome. Yeah, so that was a third category. That felt different again. So three very distinct categories of the dreamscape world I felt I've experienced in the last couple of months. And at the end of last year, before I went on to my depth year, I saw this on eBay. It was only a few pounds. It was one of these that I got for next to nothing. Julia Parker's dream cards. And at the end of the last year, I was just beginning to try this. And I didn't really know what these were, but you know, it's got the word dream in their cards. It was a few pounds and I ordered it. And I found once you've captured the dream and written it down, this little deck has been really useful to try and take it a step further, to understand where the dream might be going. At first I thought, oh, it's a bit too, it might be too basic, or it's not going to have enough in there. I should just use the internet to search what dreams mean, which of course you can do as well. But it's actually been really useful. These cards are for what I deem as the subconscious playground dreams, trying to decipher what's going on to help me move forward. I'm going to turn the camera around and I'm now going to show you this deck. Welcome to Julia Parker's Dream Cards. So like I say, this is one of those decks where it's joined to a box. This horrible little tuck box sits in there, and there's the deck of cards. So the way it works, you have got 2 starter cards where you determine whether your dream was positive or whether it was negative, and then you answer questions on those. Once you have decided that, you then decide on the theme, and the themes are, they give you themes of water or fire, air, flying or falling, earth, sex, work or the workplace, or creativity, food and drink, illness or health, communications or the TV, landscapes or travel. Did you dream about transport or vehicles? So you can see that train dream would have been very much about that. Possessions, money, credit or debt, trees or plants, games or sport, birth or death or change. Did you dream about being pursued or crowds? So again, that train dream was also had a theme of crowds, party crowds. Did you dream about disasters, or people or children, or wanting to be young again? Did you dream about animals or the past, or weather, or rooms or buildings? Did your dream feature those? Or clothes or nudity? So those are some of the themes, and for each theme you have a positive and a negative card. Once you have used your cards and determined where you should be looking, the book then gives you the card with a description of how you could interpret that dream. So it's a great little book. That's how you work it. Now the cards, this is the positive card, this is the negative card. So on the back of these cards, it asks you questions. So you've got them on the back of both. So say your dream was positive, you would answer these questions. Were you feeling happy, relaxed, carefree or enthusiastic? Were you angry but getting the better of your opponent? Did you have a good sense of direction, knowing what you wanted to do or where you were going? So things like, did you fight any dream monsters? And then on waking, were you feeling happy or contented or in a good mood? So these are the types of questions that you can answer to determine whether it was a positive or a negative dream, because sometimes it's a little bit blurred sometimes. So if it's blurred and you're not sure whether it was positive or negative, these 2 cards are really useful. So once you've decided whether it's positive or negative, you then decide on the theme. And if, say, your theme was water and you determined it was positive, this is the card that you would look at. There are some questions on the back to kind of prompt you, things to think about. So was the water clear or clean or beautiful? Could you see to the bottom? If so, were you fascinated, amused, moved by what you saw? Were you just gazing at the sea, a river or a pool? Were you happy or perhaps laughing at the choppy conditions? So you can see there are questions on the back of each card, just to trigger your memory and also to get you looking at aspects of the dream that you might not necessarily have thought of before. So if we go through, so we've got fire, and again you've got the questions on the back for the fire dreams. This is air, that's the negative one, air, flying or falling. This is earth, So that is the positive earth. That's the negative earth. This one is sex. So positive and negative. This one is birth, death or change. So that would be if the dream was more positive. This would be what to look at if you answered more negative. This one is pursuit. So if you're being pursued or chasing somebody yourself. This one is crowds. So if you're in crowds and it's more a positive dream. If you're in crowds and it's negative, I will leave that one out and we'll look at that one for that train dream I spoke of earlier. This card is for disasters. So negative disasters. This card is for people or children, positive and negative. For animals, positive and negative. For the past, so if you dreamt about the past, positive and negative. This has been recurring for me. No surprise there. The weather, positive and negative. I think this one's buildings. Yeah, rooms or buildings, positive and negative. This one is for clothes or nudity, those dreams where you suddenly are naked. The workplace or creativity. Food and drink. Look at that fantastically neat pile. I'm doing such a good job of this. You can tell I haven't filmed for a week. Oh dear, that's driving me mad. Hang on. There we go. Oh, that looks so much better. Illness or health, positive and negative. This one is for communications and TV. So you can see that's like an aerial, not a boat, but an aerial. This one is for if you dream of certain landscapes or travelling. This one is if you dream of transport or vehicles. Let's leave that one out. That one is for possessions, positive and negative. And money, credit and debt. Trees, plants or gardens. And games and sports. So you can see there's quite a few themes there. That dream that I had at the party where the train was coming in, that was triggered by that turtle card. It was negative because I woke up really, really anxious. And the questions about the party crowd that it got me thinking about were you being pushed around by a crowd? Well, I was being demanded that I do things and not be at the party. Did you feel dreadfully claustrophobic? Yeah, in the end I just had to leave the party. Were you being assaulted or heckled by your dream crowd? Yeah, I was. Were you trying to deliver a speech and being shouted down? I was trying to tell them that I just needed to get something off the train and they were all jeering at me. So kind of a little bit. Could you not get out of the crowd? It was difficult, to be honest. Were you in a congregation and being made to feel guilty? Yes, I was being told that I wasn't performing well enough at the party. Was everyone at the crowd shouting and screaming at you? Yes, they were. Were you at an important match and was your team losing? No, it wasn't that. Were you standing in a long queue waiting for something? No. And were you reluctantly forced to go along with the crowd? No, I was being singled out. So this top part is very relevant. And did anything about the train come into play? Were you waiting for a bus or train that didn't turn up? I was waiting for a train that turned up over and over again, but I couldn't catch it. There were some aspects of that, but it's more the crowd one that I looked at. The two aspects of this card when I read the book that jumped out were this one: if you were being pushed around by a dream crowd, decide whether you need to develop inner strength and the ability to fight back. So becoming more self-assertive. And then if you were being heckled by an intolerant crowd, perhaps your dream is suggesting you are nagging or ranting on about something in your waking life. And if you were being shouted down by the mob, then maybe you need to be more assertive. There it is again. And like a dream about losing your individuality. So about being assertive and stepping into who I am. It did give me some nice ways of interpreting the dream, some new directions that I wouldn't necessarily have immediately have jumped to. With the transport vehicles card in the negative, there was frustration with the train and not being able to get the musical instrument off it, and the fact that it kept turning up and I kept missing the door. It talks about real life disappointments that could be possibly being symbolized in a dream. So say waiting for a train or a bus or a plane that doesn't arrive, or if you missed one, possibly a missed opportunity is being mirrored. So I would never have thought of the train as missed opportunities, but and that would immediately open up a whole new train of thought for analysing this dream. And again at the bottom it says, if being prevented from overtaking, ask yourself whom or what is holding you back in real life. Now, I wasn't being prevented from overtaking, but I was being prevented from accessing something on the vehicle. So, you know, what's holding me back? Where is the emotional hurt? And when you put the two then side by side again, having looked at the book, it's a really nice way of analysing a dream. So that's it, guys. That's my first journeying into dream exploration and working with my dreams. I'm really enjoying it so far. This is Julia Parker's Dream Cards deck, which has also been really helping. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you found it useful, and I will see you next time. Bye.